Good afternoon once again. This is recording number 385. 385. Today is July 6th, 2022. The title is Where the Spirit Dwells. Where the Spirit Dwells. We have a scripture in Isaiah that says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me and has anointed me to bring good news to every bad situation." Unfortunately, some of us, including myself at some time, has interpreted that when we get in trouble, something we can't really overcome, we can call on the Spirit, and that Spirit will come and dwell on us. And then when the situation is arrested or resolved, we assume, I think, or believe that the Spirit then kind of moves away and moves back to its lofty perch and waits on us to call on it again. But the scriptures tell us that Spirit rests. So we're going to look at some things today. And like I said, this is personal to me. Where the Spirit dwells. These questions have been popping up in my queue to ask, and I've just been listening. Does the bird see the air in which it soars? Does the fish see the water in which it swims? No. They are found in their respective habitats, and that which functions for them is already present. Think about a bird that it would look around and go, where is the air? And I can jump in it and begin to fly. Or think about the fish in the water saying, let me look for the water that I might swim. And you will readily come to the conclusion that there is a law inherent in all things that provides, nurtures, and satisfies every need. The bird does not have to look for its domain, its environment. The fish does not have to do. This law that provides, nurtures, satisfies is the law of God, or that which presides over all spiritual mechanizations. Now, if you noticed, I used the word spiritual. We, unfortunately, in our hypnotic trance of life, we believe that things are first material and acted upon by that which is spiritual, when the law is just the opposite. Things are first spiritual and acted upon by the Spirit to bring into our presence that which nurtures, that which provides, and that which satisfies. It then follows that this spiritual activity would express spiritually after itself. There is therefore no hindrance to it reproducing after its kind, since it is the only kind, the one law, subject to none other. Here, pictures should be forming in your consciousness right now as to how attached we are to materiality, because we readily see something, accept it, and then begin to formulate resolve. If we, through our own might and strength, can do this, then all is well. But if we can't, we will try to invest or request of a higher power to come and help us. And nonetheless, when the action is done, we still leave with somewhat an unfulfilled experience because we're wondering when will be the next attack. What will be the next thing? Will I be able to overcome it, or will I have to request of a greater power and wonder if it's going to help me? Or will I find myself continuing to wander in this wilderness? You see, the truth within the bird causes it to rest within its environment, as does the truth within the fish, causes it to likewise rest. The bird will not dive deep within the waters for fulfillment, nor will the fish soar to the heights of the sky to do the same. But an internal knowing keeps them in the awareness of their supply, their domain, their environment. Their Father provides them with all things, especially its presence or blessed assurance. As this intelligent theme runs throughout all of creation, every piece of creation is internally imbued with a knowledge dedicated to its existence. In other words, there is something within every piece of creation that reveals its domain, its environment, tells it to stay within, tells it not to be afraid, tells it, leads it, guides it with a knowledge within. Now, we will call fish, birds, and so forth, we'll call them dumb whatevers because they don't appear to think as we think. But they must know something. There's something that leads birds to go south when the weather changes. There's something that tells the bear to hibernate. There's something that tells cold-blooded animals to go and hibernate, to go, the snakes to go and just keep themselves out doing certain weather. You see, because there's an internal knowing within them of something that's always leading and guiding them. And if we were truly, truly responsible, we would realize, or I should say observant, we would realize that they stay away from us. But we're always entering into their domain, and when pushed to a certain limit, they turn to protect themselves. When removed from their habitation, they will seek out from inherent truth how to get back to their safe havens. Without knowing the way, they will be guided by a truth within that knows the way, knows all things. Even after once again finding the air, rest will come when it is known to be in its environment and recognized. The fish will do the same after finding waters. Now, what I just said there is you can incarcerate a bird, or you can incarcerate a fish, or take them out of their environment. But the moment that they recognize their environment, they will fly off. And we think they just went back. No, we may have taken them 100 miles from where we captured them, We may have taken that fish 100 miles up, whatever, but when it recognizes it's back in its environment, it will seek the areas of its environment that are safe and secure. Whereas man, when he is taken out of his environment, he usually tries to adapt to the new one. He fights to get free, but then he has to sit and think about the next attack. I don't think birds, I don't think fish, rabbits, deer, I don't think they sit around and think about the hunter or being hunted. Yes, they react when these things appear, but I don't think they sit around like man. And man sits around and imagines evil. Why? Because he doesn't know where the Spirit dwells. Where then dwells this all-knowing Spirit? Since it is the creator of all things, it must dwell as all things. Therefore, we see that the worlds were not created by things that are seen, but by that which is not seen. This we must recognize and then contact. This understanding must be our only submission. Our lives must revolve and resolve around its preeminence in all things. And that little paragraph that I just gave you is something that we really, really need to buckle down. And if we can't accept it or don't accept it, we need to ask for help to accept it. Where does this all-knowing Spirit dwell? It must dwell as the very air we breathe. It must dwell as the concept of trees, grass, clouds, water, oxygen, hydrogen, all the chemicals. It must dwell as the animals, insects. It must dwell as all things and including man. So therefore, now we see we should come to the recognition that God is all that there is. And something constantly comes at us to berate, to dismiss, to the point that what do? Instead of acting, we continue to call on a God that seems to be too busy, or we don't know the correct password, or we don't know how, or we get in the way by doing things, whatever the case may be. But the Word tells us, therefore we see that the world were not created by things we're used to. Man chops down a tree and he makes a house. Man melts the chemicals, materials, and he forms a car. Man forms this and he makes fishing rods. He does all kinds of things, and we think that that's where creation comes from. But we must realize that there is something behind creation that is forming all of these things for man's use. The worlds were not created by things that are seen, but by that which is not seen. This must become our greatest recognition. Something that really just propels us to speak as Job did. my God, I have heard of thee with the hearing of the ear, but now my eyes behold you, and I am left speechless. Speechless, not weakened, speechless. Wow. Had I known this prior to, what kind of life could, and Job, we know, lived a very good life. But what kind of life could he have lived had he recognized what he ended up recognizing that left him speechless? He found that he had made contact with that which from now on his life would revolve around, and the resolution of everything, this truth, this God, this thing that he referred to, would have the preeminence in all things. This recognition must be heartfelt and relied upon as the resolution in all matters, especially positive ones, lest we falsely determine that we of ourselves have advantaged ourselves. Remember when, I think it was Moses or Joshua, I'm not really sure which one it says, God spoke through them and said, and when you come into the land which I give you, and when you have defeated this people, that people, those people, all these people, when you have gotten houses that you did not build, wells you did not dig, when you have amassed grazing lands which you did not cultivate, say not within yourself that my hands have done this. See how quickly we can lose who we think we are because we think our intelligence is so great? The recognition must be heartfelt. And when we come into our good through recognition, let's not falsely believe that we of ourselves have attained this because we went to such a university, or because such and such a college now has been raised from a college to a university. Trust me, the raising of that university is to draw funds. Don't you ever think it's for the benefit of those that go there to make the world recognize that they come from a university. It's to draw funds. You may get the benefit, or you may be able to go to a restaurant and see all the Harvard, Yale, Brown, and graduates working, bussing tables, looking for, or the ones that are turned aside for whatever reason, even though they have Harvard, Brown, Yale behind their name. As the soul is cleansed of unfruitful information, new info is not added. Don't you ever think that you are learning to be a child of God. New info is not being added to you, but that which has been from the beginning is being revealed to the senses. One law, one spirit, one God inherent in all of creation, simply awaiting recognition. These truths which have lain dormant must be not only recognized, but adhered to and then used. And when I say used, I don't mean I'm going to use this truth to get this, I'm going to use that to get that, I'm going to visualize to get this, and I'm going to affirm 100 times to get this. No. If there is a spirit which is alive and controls all things, it would have to have the ability to provide for all things, to be with all things, to know all things, to care for all things. Hence, God says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. The using of truth may result in multiple failings due to our inabilities to trust. But as we have learned, interpreted, and used earthly knowledge, we set out to painstakingly ascend the mountain of spiritual understanding, our divine heritage. What I just said right there is, there are situations that we have been involved with. One was going to school. One was being potty trained. One was going to college. One was getting married. One was finding a job. One was buying a car, getting credit. And we painstakingly went through every little preset that they told us we had to do to attain to this. And we stayed up late at night and we asked others and we did everything we could to get over the hump of these things. But why is it we will not fill ourselves with truth and speak that truth even if it appears to fail? Because if we keep speaking it, at some point in time, what's going to happen? It's going to work. And it's going to show us that we're leaving the negative. We're leaving the beliefs that we have believed in. We're leaving those because we're speaking the truth. And we can't speak out of both sides of our mouth because then we're trying to hold on to this world without being detected that we see ourselves as something else. Filled with truth, we must now take this truth to every situation and condition, assured that they cannot fail. Even though it may appear that someone is sick and dying, we must speak the truth to that situation. Because if we say they are sick and dying, we are denying the Father. And Jesus said, if you deny me before men, I will deny you before my Father. Now, we get the picture there that there's three people. There's a person of the earth we're talking to, and then there's God standing over here. And if I don't speak the truth to this person, then God is going to turn and walk away. No, God is truth. Truth in your consciousness prevails over everything. So therefore, I must be able to speak truth to a situation regardless of how that person may react. Because if I don't stick that thread through the needle's eye and then stick it in a piece of cloth, I'm never going to sew anything. And I can remember when my mother was first beginning to sew, she came out with some stuff that was just horrible to look at. But she kept at it and kept at it and kept at it till finally no one was ashamed to wear what she made. But yet we will not speak. We will not speak that truth of God. We want God to speak it. We want to, okay, God, prove to me that this works. Then I'll do it. Look at all of the things you learned. Did something prove to you, that 1 + 1 prove to you that it was 2 before you began to use it? Or did you begin to use it to see what the end result was? No longer relying on the concept of the world, we realize that we now live and move in an environment unknown by most. We are now obliged to speak and rely on the truth of spirit as the life of earth is dissolved. Though our earthly man be dissolved, that's what that's talking about. The more you speak of spiritual things, your earthly man is being dissolved. But if we want to maintain a personality type situation with those that we, relate to, we need to be careful, because truth does not mix with error. And we must push ourselves to speak truth regardless of the repercussions. We practice unceasingly. At every turn of the day, we cannot let our guard down, for we have seen what is available, and we speak knowing. Only using will bring confidence and peace. Only entering yourself into the situation with truth, that's the only way to bring confidence and peace. For our reward is not to be known by others. You need to get this. Our reward is not to be known by others, but to know as we are already known. We speak peace to every neighbor. Every neighbor. Especially the ones you don't like. Yeah, I know. I didn't say it's going to be easy. But we speak peace, some kind of way, to every neighbor. We give to everyone that asks. Yeah, I know, your mind just went to your wallet, didn't it? That's not what I'm talking about. There is a law that we recognize everywhere, and our submission causes us to see that we are that law. It's not the value of your money, okay? It's not the materialistic things that you give. Those are the things we're locked into. And when someone says give to everyone that asks, we automatically assume that it's saying give your materiality away. No, you're going to have to grow to that. But the only way you can grow to that is your mindset has to come to an understanding that that which you call God is with you always, and you can never give out, because it's your conscience, your spirit that's doing the giving. And where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. And the revelation will come. I am. That's what Moses, I am. You never saw him looking for anything. I am that. I am. I am that law. Why am I that law? Because that law fills all things. And all things has that law given unto us. Like the bird that soars without looking for the air, and the fish that swims without looking for water, we realize we are saturated with truth that nothing can withstand. Safely surrounded, we have found the place where the Spirit dwells. God bless.